Hey everyone, Luke here. Now, before I get into the review this week, just want to make a couple of quick announcements. Since I've got this week completely off work, I am gonna probably be doing 2 more videos on top of obviously the review that I'm doing today, and also as well, hopefully not tonight, but hopefully for the rest of the week I'll be doing hosting chill out sections on the Control Chaos Discord server. So if you want to come and chat to me personally on them, feel free to do that, and we can also talk about the chapters this week, what we liked about them, what we didn't like, what we're looking forward to coming up with the chapters on Sunday. So yeah, the 2 other videos that I've got planned are obviously, hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, or wherever you can find some wood. I'm going to be doing the Promised Neverland video this week, the one talking about the bonus chapter that came out. And also I'm going to be doing another sit and talk video where I basically talk about everyday things, day-to-day things, and it'll be another video on my book, which will be talking about my favourite character in the book itself and what plans I have for them moving forward in the series. But aside from all of them now, we've got to talk about the Promised Neverland, because we've moved on to a new arc. Alright, so this will be chapter 170, titled Staring Up at the Same Moon. I'd obviously do a joke right now with looking up at the same moon, but it's the middle of the day. It's like what, 20 past 2 in the afternoon here. So obviously I can't do a joke with staring up at the same moon as Senku, but no, that's relevant for this chapter, because this chapter had something that I did not see coming a mile off, but the more you think about it, it makes so much sense, but we'll get into it when we get into it. So let's just dive right into the chapter. So it starts off with Gen discussing about their plan to escape to South America, obviously knowing that Stanley is going to be pursuing them, as he goes, "Do you mean to tell me that we will fleeing in this tiny boat," obviously referring to Dotsino's yacht, whilst the ultimate sniper, that is to say, "Dear Stanley Snyder," I just love that. Like, try saying that 3 times fast. Ultimate sniper, Stanley Snyder, ultimate blah 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 blah. Try saying it 3 times fast. It is quite difficult to say that. But not only that, he'll also have his full arsenal and combat elites now. Red from Control Chaos compares Stanley and his forces to Team Rocket, and yeah, that's pretty inept to say that, because they're always gonna have that lingering threat in the back of the mind that Stanley is onto them and he is gonna be coming for Dr. Sino. Now, one thing that did surprise me is that they'll be pursuing them with their own aircraft carrier, obviously referring to the Perseus. So it made me wonder, like, when I first read this chapter, I was wondering, like, how are they gonna pursue them on the Perseus, where it's had that much damage done to them. Now, that is explained in this chapter, which when you see that, it makes you think like, holy shit, Stanley and Sinus's forces are actually even more of a threat than we were initially leading them on. Anyway, we get Gen, Suika, and Yukio going over these problems that they're going to be facing. As Gen says, "Are we allowed to panic pay yet?" And Yukio's like, "Well, when you put it like that, yeah, we should really be panicking." And Suika's like, "How can we win against them?" But Seiko reassures them that, yeah, we are going to have them on their tail, but screw that. We're going to be evading Stanley's presence no matter what cause, as they set up for their next destination, which we know is South America, Brazil, to get the super ally, but also to figure out what the ultimate cause of the petrification was at the beginning of the series. As we see Stanley's forces basically getting drum oils to obviously refuel the Perseus, after it's not only taken this amount of journey to actually get from Japan to America, but also probably taken a little bit of damage from the petrol or whatever they're using to actually power the Perseus. As we see Stanley's forces getting oil drums to actually refuel the Perseus, we see the Kingdom of Science people who have now allied themselves with Dr. Brody, get all regrouping together to figure out what their next move is. But before that, we actually see Matzukazie actually faint in front of them. Now, this was something that I believe Party Jams was the one who was actually saying that, well, wait a minute, what about Ginru, Matsukaze, and to a lesser step, Mozu? Now, from this chapter, it looks as though those three are still going to be going to South America as well. So, yeah, we should have been judging, Inagaki and Boichi on the fact that, hey, where are these characters right now? Because we kind of should have known that they're actually going to address that at some point. That, yeah, these are where these characters are. This is where everyone is. So don't be worried, we haven't forgotten about them. Now, this is the part of the chapter that made me think, like, holy shit, Stanley does not fuck around here. As we see Matsukaze being lifted by Maya, which, again, if you don't know, Maya's like the meaty girl that basically was singing really badly to try and get into crack. And people are probably thinking like, yeah, not people in the series, but people like the translators and everyone are thinking like, yeah, this is probably who they're referring to as Maya. So, like I said, I'm going to be referring to her as Maya from now on. But anyway, Maya takes Matsukaze back to the Perseus, puts him in the med bay, as one of Stanley's forces are like, on the ship though, is he coming with us? Stanley's like, no issue there. If he dies, we'll toss him overboard. If not, he's a hostage they can use against the junior science brigade. And I love that threat that Stanley gives, because it's like, yeah, Stanley does not fuck around there. He's like, yeah, he'll come with us and we can use him as a hostage for Dr. Senior, because we know that this science brigade would not betray one of their allies. But if he dies, we could just toss him overboard and he can be left to rot at the bottom of the ocean. And Matsukaze is looking on at Stanley and thinking like, yeah, this guy is pretty dangerous. I've got to get away from him. As we cut back to see Kinru saying, counting on you, Matsukaze, which again, I'm kind of disappointed that Kinru's not going to South America, but I get why. They need to keep some forces, some of the power team in America, so it's kind of like they at least have some sort of force in case some of Brody's forces go a little bit berserk. They can kind of like, hey, we've got power on our team back here, so we can basically go toe to toe with you guys if we so choose. As Matsukaze makes his way through the ship, he finds Ginru basically hiding, which is kind of something I kind of brought up when I was talking to Party Jams on the Control Chaos Discord about where Ginru's probably when Ginru is, and I said like he's probably hiding, like that's Ginru's thing. Like when things get a little bit too tough, he goes and hides away. I'm sure enough he was hiding behind the cage that Homura and Hyoga were originally in when the Perseus first took off from Japan to go to Treasure Island. And Matsukaze's like, Lord Ginru, and Ginru's like, Matsukaze, you came back to for me. I hid, but then everyone was gone, and so I didn't know what to do. So I and this is like the funniest moment here for me in the chapter. Matsukaze goes on to say that he's summarizing that it's likely Ginru was still aboard what is now the enemy ship, which I'm really glad that they're actually taking the Perseus with them to South America, like Stanley's force are, because that gives them more of an opportunity for the Perseus to actually be repaired in South America for the journey to going to the other continents. Because let's face it, in that tiny little boat of Sinews, that's not going to get them far, not as far as the Perseus. So I'm glad that the Perseus still is in the series, and it's still going to be used and relevant, so that when they do eventually get it back probably at the end of the South America arc, which is the arc we're in right now. Fantastic that we've moved on to a new arc, and I'm just so excited. You can tell that I really love this series. But anyway, yeah, the Perseus is going to be with them so that they can easily get it back and repair it if they so choose at some point. But anyway, moving on, the part here that gets me thinking is like Matsukaze thinks that because Ginru was hiding away from the action, he was like, you plan to infiltrate and spy on them to learn valuable information, did you not? And Ginru's expression is priceless here. It's just like the dumbfounded approach of like, you really are loyal to me to the bone through and through here, that you would believe something like that when I was basically just cowering away. And Giru just plays up for this as well. It's like, sure, more or less, should you have guessed my intuit plan, Matzukazie? But now that I think about it, let's scram. I mean, brave as I am, I could have just run on our own. And Matzukazie's like, please just let me be your bodyguard still. Like, come on, I love the relationship between these two now. Like, this relationship has just, like, developed so much that Matzukazie, even though he's like, I kind of know that this guy's a coward, he still reminds me of my lord, so I'm going to protect him and I'm going to, like, twist it around so that it is kind of like being more brave than he's letting on. But before Giru and Matsukazie can continue, Matsukazie actually faints in front of Ginru, and before Ginru can actually do anything, the Perseus actually starts taking off, and we see that from what I can tell from this panel where Maya's singing probably fairly badly here. The Doctor Cena Retrieval Tour is kicking up, probably as bad as my singing. I apologise for my singing there. But anyway, it looks as though like they've kind of repaired the bow of the ship, so now it doesn't have like the little like shark head anymore. That's completely gone. But it looks like it's been the port of the Perseus has like been boxed in, so like they don't get the water. They still don't get the water, and it looks as though they've remodeled a few little trinkets. So like they have kind of like two little side panels, so like they have guns. So like they have guns on the side of the Perseus now. I repeat, they have guns on the side of the Perseus now. So these guys were pretty much working hard, probably in the space of like 20 minutes to get all this repaired. Like they repaired this super fast. And not only that, they repaired the ports where like the main lobby area, they've repaired that super quick. Like, it's just amazes me how fast those guys repaired it. It must have been less than half an hour since the Perseus was destroyed partly. It must have been half an hour to repair that. Like it's fully repaired at this point. So like no water's going to be seeping through the port side. Like I don't know what the front side of a ship is called, but like through that port, basically through the front area, you know, where the like shark head was on. Like they've repaired that completely. They've got guns on the side of the Perseus where that shark head was, and they've repaired the main lobby area where the wheel was to actually steer the Perseus, and replaced that with a gun as well. So yeah, Stanley is not fucking around here. And one other thing I want to say is that we get a brief panel here of Stanley and Xenu basically giving the same look as them, which probably is them their minds. They're thinking like, I'm coming for you, Xenu, and Xenu's like, I'm counting on you, Stanley. I'll distract them as long as it's seen through before you can actually get me back. But anyway, continuing on with the chapter, Stanley's forces says, hang on, do we even know where those science kids are heading? As we see the pilot that was piloting the plane that we initially thought Stanley was piloting, that Senku and Ryusui actually defeated. We see them notice that Matsukazie has actually left the sick bay at this point. Anyway. So that's where they are. We kind of were all thinking like where that person actually is. Well, now we actually have the answer. And again, I love the fact that Boichi and Inagaki must be thinking the exact same thing that the audience is thinking. Like, wait a minute, where is this character? Where did they actually go? And this obviously answers it. They went back to Stanley, and it's kind of disappointing that the Kingdom of Science didn't actually try to attempt attempt to stop Stanley from escaping to chase them, but I kind of get why that was. But still, they couldn't have at least attempted. But then again, he had a gun at that point, so if they tried to attempt it, they probably would have been shot dead on sight. But anyway, that's just a minor tangent that I just wanted to bring up here. We have Stanley, who's basically answering the question of his forces. They're like, why don't we just ask the enemy, since we have the wannabe samurai Matzukazie aboard? Like, yeah, that's kind of... I bet that is foreshadowing for when Matzukazie gets his hands on some real steel, because if Matzukazie ever gets a sword, he is going to be a brute with that sword. So anyway, continuing on, as Stanley's forces are interrogating him, they bring up a picture to Matsukaze, because obviously they're probably under the impression that he cannot understand Japanese, so they're kind of doing pictionary with him to kind of like say, like, where is Senku? And Matsukaze immediately picks up on, like, okay, this is what they're actually asking me, like, where do they want me to actually rat out Senku, as he says, do what you will with me, but no matter what methods you employ, I, Matsukaze, should never betray my lord's friends by revealing their destination. And badass move on Matsukaze's part. You've got to love someone who's like, no matter what, at this point, he literally has a gun pointed to his face, and he's like, and pointed to his forehead, and he's like, so what? You kill me, you're not gonna find out anything, so you still need me alive, but at the same time, it's not like I'm gonna reveal that information for you. So badass move on Matsukaze's part. And he's like praying to Ginru, who's behind the prison cell at this point. Don't show yourself, Ginru. Don't show yourself, Ginru. No matter what happens to me, don't show yourself. If you can keep yourself safe and hidden, then we might actually have a chance of getting out of this situation. Ginru goes on to say, yeah, that's right, because my job now is to stay hidden. That's clearly the smart decision here. And he sees just how, like no matter what Ginru does here, it's kind of like, yeah, he's seeing one of his friends in danger, because I do think he views Matsukaze as a friend, even though he's abusing him as like a bodyguard, but he still sees him as a friend and an ally to the Kingdom of Science, and he can't just let him be in danger here. And as he sees Matsukaze have a gun pointed to his head, he basically snaps and he's like, South America, that's where they're going. And Matsukaze's like, you had one job to do, man, and you blew it. Why? And Ginru's like, I'm sorry, Matsukaze. Sorry, everyone. So yeah, regardless if you agree with what Ginru did here, it still shows just how loyal he is. Like, even if it means giving away their position, he can't betray. Even if it's just one ally, he still values them above everything else. But now we get into the part of the chapter that really I did not see coming, but if you really think about it, it makes so much sense. So anyway, we cut back over to Sinu's yacht as they're saying, we're going to South America, the origin of the nasty petrification 1,000 years ago. Maybe we'll find one of those bad petrification devices, like a huge one, which I kind of think that they are actually going to find more petrification devices. I don't think the one that we actually saw on Treasure Island is the only one that was actually chucked to Earth. Like, there could have been... that could have been happening like every 50, 100 years or so. It's just the ones that Matsukaze has are the ones that were actually on Treasure Island, but they could have been scattered throughout the world for all we know. And I guarantee that that's going to be the case. Like, Senku's going to find another petrification device so that he can actually study it properly. Kuwaku's like, how can you be so excited with the enemy on our tail? And Sinu says, assuming there's even anything left after thousands of years, tell me, Senku, do you believe it belongs to the one on the moon? Dr. Sinu knows about the Y Man! God, we should have all seen that coming, and it shouldn't have surprised no one, but let's face it, it probably totally did. I doubt anyone saw this part coming with Sinu before this chapter dropped out. But it makes so much sense, him being a scientist, and if Senku could figure out where the Y-Man signal was actually coming from, then surely Sinu has the capability of doing that. Like, so Sinu knows about the Y-Man, he knows that it's coming from the moon, and this shocks pretty much everyone, but Senku gives a look of like, wow, he actually knows about... Wait a minute, of course he knows about it. He's a scientist like me. I figured it out, so it's obvious Sinu figured it out. And Cena's like surprised, like, so you already know. Okay, so now they all know that the Y-Man is on the moon, and he's like, you too, Cena. No way you'd miss all those king-size radio waves shooting down from the moon. So yeah, Senku was surprised at first, but then he kind of backed up and thought, like, actually that does make sense for Cena to actually figure out that the Y-Man is on the moon, because if I figured it out, surely he figured it out as well. Cena goes on to say, the top two scientists of the new world are united. If we were to combine our intellects, perhaps we could acquire the hypertech weapons for all of ourselves. So I love this, the fact that Sinu's trying at least to get Senku on his side still. Like, he still hasn't given up on that front, because it's like, Senku, I know you understand what I know, so why don't we join forces here, and then we can rule the world with our science. But of course, Senku's not as high and mighty as Sinu is to actually think like that, as he goes on to say, hey, like, I give a crap about keeping it for myself. Like, he basically wants just the world to flourish and get back to a state it was, but also make it a better place for everyone. Whereas Sinu's like, no, I just want to rule everyone with my science. There's a lot of brutes out there that won't listen, but if we can control it with science, then we can pretty much rule the world. Sinu still tries to get under Senku by saying, the two of us will surely crack the secrets behind the petrification and beam and the moon, as we get like a pretty good look. So we have Corn City, which is obviously in San Francisco. Then we have the Perseus, which at this point, looking at the map, it's kind of like on the border between Texas and Mexico. At least that's where I'm seeing here. And obviously the Medusa is in Brazil, in South America, and it seems like Sinu's boat is kind of like in the Mexico region from this panel that I'm looking at right now. And continuing on, Senku's like, maybe I don't agree with Sinu, but at least I can actually talk to him and actually figure out some ideas of what he wants to, of what his plan is, and maybe I can exchange some information with him, and maybe we can come to a compromise here. Even though Senku probably knows that that's not going to happen, he's still at least going to try it, as we see him get a chair, and he's like, sure, we've got time, so let's, you and me, mentor and mentee, exchange information we know so far. As Sinu's like, very well, because science is elegant, and that's where the chapter ends. So, really awesome start to the arc. I love Matzukazie being just such a badass, not even caring if he dies, as long as he can protect the Kingdom of Science. Love that Stanley is going to be obviously chasing after them, and in the Perseus as well. And love the big reveal of Sinu figuring out that the Y-Man is on the moon probably at the same time that Senku figured it out, if not even sooner than that. So yeah, love that, and I love the fact that probably next chapter it's probably just going to be a mind battle back and forth between Senku and Sinu. Just love that. But anyway, guys, that's it for this chapter. Literally got nothing else to say. I'm just really excited for this arc. Love where it's going so far, and I cannot wait to see what happens next. And not every series can do that as well. It's like, you're just so excited to be talking about something that you love so much, and then it just gets even better for you when you throw in a bombshell like that that's so obvious, but yeah, you don't even think about it. But anyway, guys, what did you think of this chapter? Let me know. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz, and this will be Lash and Luke signing off. Later, guys.